out of here. This woman has a real newborn baby, guys.
You make more pollution. Somebody's going to the hospital. It's illegal. It's illegal.
Holy frickin' cow. Imagine having a baby and trying to bring it to the hospital like that woman was, and some blue-haired statist yuppie tells you no, you can't because you didn't give enough of your money to the government to make the weather gooder. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Zurk Rudowski here of wearechange.org, and there's a lot of absolutely crazy news to get into today. Not just, of course, the latest developments surrounding Hunter Biden and the junkie that also is his lawyer, but also a lot of the frightening news when it comes to the larger geopolitical picture and perspective that made Henry Kissinger, of all people, who is 100 years old, literally go to China for an emergency meeting. Now, what was the meeting? What was really going on here when it comes to this larger specific convergence? Well, we're going to be talking about that plus a lot more all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast that was absolutely infuriating originally came from @CensoredMan on Twitter, highlighting Just Stop Oil protesters that are preventing a woman from taking a baby to the hospital. Yes, you heard that correctly, as of course they thought that their protest was more important than the safety and well-being. Look at the smug look of these fart smellers. Self-indulged, self-righteous, egotistical narcissists that believe that they are way more important than anyone else, since of course they're doing everything that the establishment wants them to do, as they knowingly regurgitate billionaire state-run propaganda that of course is all a part of a larger effort, and in my opinion a bigger eugenics operation, but that's another story here, as of course it also looks like the major institutions giving out the calling cards and orders for the NPCs and normies are in big trouble, as of course a huge sector of the corporate media is dealing with a lot of financial burdens and pain, including of course the Washington Post, a newspaper that has been gobbled up by Jeff Bezos and is known for their very lucrative connections to the Central Intelligence Agency that many times uses them as a direct hand puppet to push on whatever controlled psyop and narrative that they want on the American people. This, as it's being estimated that the Washington Post is set to lose $100 million in 2023. Gee, I wonder why. As many of the puppets there, excuse me, journalists there that repeat everything that they're told to do, or they're just overworked to actually do a real good job at anything, soon might be replaced with artificial intelligence, as the New York Times wrote an article today about how Google is already testing out AI tools that will help machines write news stories for you, because what other way would we complete a technocratic takeover of our society than have literal robots telling us what we need to know about every single day? All of this is happening as, of course, many online publications like the Daily Mail already use a significant amount of artificial intelligence, and even as an independent media organization, we kind of played around and used it ourselves. What will the robots be telling us in the future? And more importantly, what will they not be telling us is something that, of course, I think should be a topic of discussion, as many of these new technologies are moving forward without any kind of form of democratic participation, feedback, concern, or input from anyone other than the people profiting off of them. And just like we saw with the Hunter Biden laptop story, if something's inconvenient for the powers that be, they'll just call it Russian propaganda and punish anyone else from talking about it on big tech social media by absolutely censoring the story. This, as a few days ago, through the House Judiciary Committee, we found out that the FBI knew that the laptop was real, was legitimate, and still decided to go around social media companies and push, extort, and allude to the fact that it was quote, Russian disinformation. As of course, the clear, illegal, illicit activities of the president's son is very present in everyone's purview, as now even the Burisma chief came out from the Ukrainian National Energy Company and said that he was, quote, coerced to pay Joe Biden and, quote, stupid Hunter in the latest bombshell allegations that are rocking Washington, D.C., and proving that, yes, it is filled with as much corruption as you think it is. That plus probably a lot worse, to be completely frank and honest with you, as even Hunter Biden's lawyer is getting in on the fun, as of course meeting with Hunter Biden. At the same time, his lawyer, Kevin Morris, is seen on videotape smoking something out of a large bong. All of this being extremely ironic since, of course, it was Joe Biden that was the major foot soldier of the war on drugs that, of course, put a lot of innocent human beings in jail for victimless crimes. As, of course, for some reason, still in some kind of way that he's running to be president in 2024. And that's why we decided to launch some campaign shirts for good old Biden, like this one, highlighting how he's a rich white guy and a cop, a favorite of the woke liberal SJW mob that, of course, really loves and supports him. Although, personally, I am hoping that he does replace the cop, Kamala Harris, with Mr. Fetterman, which I think would be a more appropriate running mate. That shirt also available on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, and by getting t-shirts, you support the growing and expanding of this independent media operation that has been up and running for nearly 20 years now. We have a reputation to uphold. We've been busting our butts. We've been working really hard. We got a lot of really exciting projects coming up that will be very surprising for a lot of people, that will take a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of lawyers to support our future very exciting projects. Check out thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Grab a shirt. The shirt that I'm wearing right now is also one of the shirts that you could get that a lot of people have been complimenting me on here in Las Vegas, Nevada. As of course, we're also going to be in Los Angeles, California, later on tonight, actually. So yeah, if you're in California, we are also going to be doing an exclusive members-only meetup in Los Angeles sometime later this week. I think either Thursday or Friday. Thursday's my birthday, so I might just do it then. And if you want to meet like-minded individuals in Los Angeles, hang out, probably eat some beef liver and some kombucha, break bread and hang out with me, probably somewhere on the beach, sign up right now for LukeUnfiltered.com. As of course, we also released 2 exclusive videos only available for members that are absolutely really fun, really exciting. We did a very in-depth podcast when it comes to looking into stem cells. I did another walk and talk in Tijuana, Mexico. Those videos only available for members right now on LukeUnfiltered.com. See you there right after this broadcast with new videos ready for you almost every single day on that particular platform. Now, continuing our conversation here, specifically about a very surprising trip that is raising a lot of eyebrows recently, and that, of course, is Henry Kissinger, at the age of 100 years old, risking his personal health, well-being, and life, and deciding to fly halfway around the world from New York City all the way to Beijing, China, in order to have what looks like an emergency meeting between him and Xi Jinping. Now, obviously, the photos from this meeting clearly highlight Henry Kissinger's inability to walk around, as of course this man is 100 years of age. Why is he doing this right now during this very key moment? Well, this has led to a lot of speculation online, specifically when it comes to the possibility of the Thucydides trap being played out right in front of the world, where China and the United States face a very dangerous situation against each other and could potentially soon be at war with each other. And that is a real possibility. Historically, when one superpower takes over another one, there's a conflict that precedes that one overwhelmingly. And when you look at recorded human history, this overwhelmingly happens more than it does not, as it's also important to note here that Kissinger has been a friend of China since the 1970s, when him, Richard Nixon, and David Rockefeller flew over to China and, quote, opened it up to the rest of the world. Now, that's the PR saying, we opened up China. Yeah, we're great guys. No, in reality, they took blue-collar factory jobs from the United States, gutted the middle class, and replaced them with Chinese slave labor, so all the industrialist and multinational corporate interests that the Rockefellers and other businessmen had could, of course, profit off of cheap labor while sending back cheap consumer goods to the United States, while creating more of a consumerist economy in the Western world and not one that actually produces anything. And this highlights the larger problem that we're in right now, as, of course, the American and Chinese economy are coupled. The interests of the Chinese and the Americans are different, highlighting clear problems that are unfolding right now because there's a lot at jeopardy here, especially when it comes to the larger financial ramifications that, looking at the numbers and trying to calculate, look like absolute dog crap. Because there's no way an economy could just keep borrowing more money, printing it, pressing zeros on the computer keyboard, and then expecting everything to be hunky-dory, and it's not hunky-dory. It's absolutely crap. And the other speculation that's happening right now, that this meeting is specifically happening because there potentially could be a U.S. bond crash, that it is important to note that the Chinese have been preparing for the last few years. Henry Kissinger's welcome to the Chinese state was also very interesting to see, as of course the Communist Chinese Party rolled out the red carpet for him more than they have for many important U.S. officials, as even members of the White House are coming out and saying that they regret how much access and better access Kissinger has to China than current U.S. government officials, as clearly Henry Kissinger is respected a lot more than many other members of the U.S. government. Now, this trip by Henry Kissinger is allegedly a private visit by a citizen, but it's absolutely a lot more than that. As Politico writes that this meeting between Kissinger and Xi Jinping had something in it for both sides. And what is Henry Kissinger wheeling and dealing? What is he deciding here? What is he talking about? What is he negotiating? Is he doing this for the best interest of the American people? And I would argue absolutely not. This is a self-interested man that, of course, has a lot of connections to the business world that predominantly caters to them and not to the American people. You look at his foreign policy, it has helped a lot of people in the military-industrial complex. Not a lot of poor people. Quite the opposite of that, actually. Which leads us to speculate some more sinister motives here, as of course it's also been the Biden administration that has been flip-flopping on a lot of their very strong policies against China, specifically dealing with Taiwan. It's also the Biden administration that recently announced that they're stopping the funding towards the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which they decided to restart for some reason. And, recently, the Biden administration cut funding. Is this related to it? Well, that's a micro issue comparatively to the larger, bigger potential of a proxy war between the East and the West that's currently unfolding in many places around the world. I think foreign policy played a bigger role here. I think the economy also played a significant role here as we are headed towards some very turbulent times as the United States is doubling down on Ukraine, as even documents from the Department of Defense are coming out saying that they can't really trace anything that they really sent over to Ukraine as far as the military aid and packages there, a part of a larger proxy war that is creating a lot of instability on the world stage. Did this meeting have anything to do with this? Well, I think it definitely had to be centered around foreign policy, as of course Kissinger also didn't just meet with the Chinese president, he also met with the Chinese defense chief. Why is Henry Kissinger meeting with the main military figure in China? Well, that's an important question, especially after the Chinese spy drone was caught over U.S. territory, as the South China Morning Post just released an article talking about how the U.S. may have a, quote, sense of urgency to improve military ties with China, as many people are expecting China to make a very significant, strong move against Taiwan, which the United States has been quietly and also in very overt ways, in some instances, been slowly decoupling from. Now, you mark larger instability with foreign policy, with, of course, financial burdens and problems ahead of us that absolutely make no financial and mathematical sense at all. And I think we have a recipe for disaster here, as many people are warning about an imminent financial crash. But it's also important to note here that we've been hearing about that for many years now, and yet it has still not happened. Are they prepping and building us up for something right before the 2024 presidential elections? Well, that's kind of unlikely with the financial situation. What kind of deal is China making with the United States? And more importantly, the military-industrial complex and the corporatist interests that truly do run the United States, that is represented by Henry Kissinger? That's something that I think we should know. And I think it's fair to say that this man absolutely has way too much power, has absolutely wielded it in some very nefarious ways, and him being in China is probably not in the best interest of you, but I think it highlights some very clear, unstable times ahead of us, especially after this emergency meeting, as the world stage is becoming more fragile and unbalanced than ever, according to my own personal opinion. What do you think the purpose of this meeting was? Let me know down in the description below. A lot of the stuff that I mentioned here is just pure speculation. It's just pure trying to guess what's happening here. But who knows? Maybe you guys know something that I don't know. Thank you so much again for watching this video. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for buying a t-shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com and allowing us to survive, thrive, and do some really amazing things that we have in the works for you. That is really going to be incredible. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.